I think a lot of people have gotten so used to not being held accountable and they don't know how to hold themselves accountable. But consistency is primarily the biggest cause that people don't succeed. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, because at the end of the day, my philosophy has always been nobody wakes up on a Tuesday morning and says, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go sell my house. Nobody does that. There's a justifiable want behind why that is that they're going to sell their house. Your job as the agent is to figure out what that is and help them solve that. My goal next year is to try to hit 5.
Mike, you're going to do it.
I'll up my goal next year to 6, maybe 6.5.
Let's go ahead and set that goal right now. Mike,
6
tell me that you're going to hit 5 million in volume by December 31st this year.
Okay, I'll hit 5 million volume by December 31st this year.
Bam! All right.
Hi, I'm Tim, real estate agent, veteran, and author of The Freedom Agent. You're listening to the Freedom Agent podcast, where we help agents stop being the bottleneck in their business. Through conversations, stories, and real strategies, we'll show you how to scale smarter and finally take back your time. All right, guys, welcome here to another episode of the Freedom Agent podcast. I'm super psyched to get
Mike Pechacek
here in Destin, Florida, right actually in the same area that I am in. He has been in real estate, which is unlike most of our guests. He's only been in real estate for a year and a half, but is already crushing it like a veteran. He's really here to share his story, even in a tough market that we've had here in the Emerald Coast. And I'm excited to bring him on. So, Mike, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Tim.
All right. Awesome, man. We'll jump right into the questions then. What I would like you to tell me, since in your short stint already, you've already picked up this momentum. You already kind of figured some things out. So what I would like to hear from you is I'd like you to walk me through how you got into real estate and then that moment that things really started clicking for you.
So it all started when I was in solar sales. I had been a door knocker for 3.5, 4 years. And I came across you and another real estate agent that told me that I was really good at, presenting myself and articulating thoughts to people and being able to sell. And so they were like, you need to stop what you're doing over here and go sell real estate. Well, at the time I was making really good money in real estate. So I kind of tuned out all the noise. They always say, focus on one thing, don't focus on too many different things. Right. But when the solar industry inevitably started to collapse, I really did enjoy being able to meet new people, and I got to go into people's homes in the solar business. So I got to see, what makes their home special, what they've done to it makes it unique, and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And I really like to go in throughout homes and see these awesome, fixtures, amenities, and things that people have done to them. And I figured it would just be a good transition into another career path. And so I started in Jacksonville a year and a half ago with a brokerage that wasn't the greatest. I mean, they taught me a lot, so I won't diminish the fact that I learned a lot while I was there. But I've since moving back to this area, I've actually already tripled almost the income that I made in that first year, being back here with a new brokerage. So it all started to click for me probably about September, October of last year. I had already started taking listings, and I was watching videos. I watch videos like Alex Hormozy, Sharon Srivatsa, if anybody knows who that is in the real estate industry, Andrew Undum, of course, Ryan Serhant, everybody knows that guy. But I watch a lot of their content and their ideas, and I get, the reason behind why they say the things that they say and what it's meant to do. And so I try to reciprocate a lot of that in my own listing presentations. And when I meet with sellers, when I just talk with them, I'm not the agent that tells people what they want to hear. And I tell them that up front. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, because at the end of the day, my philosophy has always been, and I learned this from one of my previous mentors, was nobody wakes up on a Tuesday morning and says, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go sell my house. Nobody does that. There's a reason, there's a need, there's a justifiable want behind why that is that they're going to sell their house. So your job as the agent is to figure out what that is and help them solve that problem.
That's awesome, man. No, I love that. Yeah, it's so funny that you bring that up too, because it wasn't until you popped up on our list here that I remembered
that story when you came over and knocked on my door and we had that whole conversation. That's so amazing how that's
Except I did not sell you solar panels.
That's true. It's a hard sell for realtors around there. I love that. Let me ask you, since you were able to kind of figure out this momentum so early, what's that? What would you say, in your own opinion, what's the one thing most agents get wrong that you figured out?
I think it's not even just agents. I think it's most salespeople or just people in general. Consistency and being able to hold yourself accountable. I think it's the two of those things, right? Here in America, I'll just kind of throw it out as a general thing. I think a lot of people have gotten so used to not being held accountable, and they don't know how to hold themselves accountable anymore as much as we used to as a country. And that can be in a lot of different aspects, but consistency is primarily the biggest cause that people don't succeed. You know, if you have success today, and a perfect example for a real estate agent would be like, today's Tuesday, you have a closing today, you're going to make a ton of money, you're going to make 10 grand. We used to tell this to salespeople in the solar industry too. You make 10 grand today. Your indication, your first thought tomorrow is going to be, I don't need to work today. I've got my bills paid for, the next 2 months.
Right.
That's a problem. That right there is the issue. You've got to stay consistent, because it's the times where you make that money and then you're going to go through a drought. Kind of like what you had told me earlier, you went 110 days without making a sale. That happens if you don't stay consistent. If you don't stay on top of your processes and your systems that you've built, you will go through long periods of drought where you don't have anything built up.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's exactly what we've seen, in over the decade of time I've been in real estate, regardless of the things that you can't control. Real estate is still this roller coaster, this sine wave that we have, where you're going to have really, really good months and then you're going to have really slow months. And sometimes it's based off of any excuse you want to give yourself.
Exactly.
Seasonality, right? The market's gone down.
Lead stock.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
It's never a look inside at like, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I could be saying better? What is it? How many hours could I be putting in extra? What time could I take away from this bull crap thing that I'm doing over here to delegate to this that's actually important? It's going to move the needle for lots of things. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not perfect myself. I work from home a lot, and so I tell people all the time that they're like getting into sales and they're going to be doing work from home. I said, don't fall into the trap, because it is a trap. You will get tied up with this shiny thing over here. Oh, the dishes need to be done, or oh, the yard needs to be cut, and you got to do all these. The laundry list never stops, but you have to have dedicated time and hours that you're going to accomplish certain tasks throughout the day.
I love that. Can you share with us a little bit about how you keep yourself accountable and consistent? What are the things that you're doing, and how do you check yourself?
Yeah, so I typically start my day usually around 7:30. 7:30 is when I wake up, because I have to get my daughter up and ready for school and out of the house before 8. And then I get back home, and I usually start my calls around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I will go at least 2 hours. Sometimes I'll go 2.5, every day, Monday through Friday. Friday is usually a little bit more follow-up. So I'll do my regular calls Monday through Thursday. I'll do a few on Friday, but then that Friday is usually where I do my follow-ups from all the people that I've talked to, either Monday through Thursday or in previous conversations. And then I'll do my appointments in the middle of the day. So between 12 and 3 o'clock, when I have to go get my daughter, just because I have to pick her up at 3:30. So if I book appointments, it's typically within those time frames, unless, of course, I get permission from the boss wife, that I can go out later than that, and she's going to pick up our daughter. So typically that's kind of what my day looks like. And then obviously after my daughter gets home, I take field phone calls after that time, but I don't typically go out and meet anybody or do anything after that.
I love it. The consistency schedule here. And what's your primary source of prospecting?
So I cold call FSBOs, or for sale by owners, and expireds. I have my own sphere of influence, and then I also have referrals from past clients and things like that.
Okay. So explain to me, who is your avatar, your ideal avatar, and who do you serve best and why?
Avatar, I don't know. Maybe give me a little bit more depth on that question.
Yeah, of course. So who's your ideal client?
I primarily focus on listings. and I don't get me wrong, like I've heard from a lot of my buyer agent friends that buyers are, way more fun to work with because, it's exciting. You're helping somebody a lot of the time find like either their first home or their, their next newest home that they're going to be moving into with their family and they're going to enjoy for years and years. But for me, it kind of just goes back to the psychology of the sale, understanding like there is a reason why a seller wants to sell their home. So I focus primarily on listings. I have worked with buyers in the past, but listings is really my bread and butter because I, one, understand, like I said, the philosophy, but two, I can also get down real with people and tell them not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear about the market conditions, what their home needs, what upgrades or things they need to do with their home to get it ready to go on the market. A lot of times, like for sale by owners, they don't realize that they're not listed on all the different places that people are looking for homes. So that causes a significant amount of reduced activity when they're on the market for 60 days. And they're like, I'm just getting looky-loos and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, there's a reason for that. It's because you're only showing up on like 2 or 3 different places. So,
No, I love that, man. And why do you serve this ideal client the best? Why are you the best guy for this?
So that I kind of put that on a couple of agents that I had personal experiences with buying houses. So my first experience was buying the house that I'm currently sitting in. I bought it with the intention my wife and I wanted to Airbnb it out or rent it out.
Yeah.
And we told our buyer's agent that we were working with that was our goal when we were looking for a house is, hey, we want to have a house that we can live in for a couple years, but we're probably not going to stay in it, forever. We want to be able to Airbnb it out or at least short-term rental it out. And he was like, okay, I got it. It makes sense. 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, whatever. And then we found this house and we got through the whole process. I put 20% down, did all the song and dance. And on the day of closing, the title agent, I was 25 or 24, 25 at the time. My wife was like 20. So we were really young buying a house in Destin. And the title agent was the one that asked, he's like, hey, no offense. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but like, you guys are really young. This must be really exciting for you. What are your plans for the house, after you buy it? And we told him, we were like, oh, we're going to live in it for a couple of years. And then we're, planning on doing a short-term rental, maybe an Airbnb type thing. And I literally watched the color leave this guy's face. And he was like, so nobody told you? And I said, nobody told me what? And he said, you see this map? And he broke out a map of Destin. Yeah. And he said, this is 98. And I said, yeah, I see that. And he said, okay, so on this side of 98, you can do short-term rental. All that kind of stuff is allowed. I said, okay. He said, do you see this side? And I said, yes. He's like, that's where your home is. That does not allow short-term rental. It has to be 6 months or longer. And I was like, really? Yeah. Oh. So it completely derailed the entire thing, the whole reason why we were buying the house. And of course, it was too late. I'd already put down the money. So it's not like I can just be like, hey, give me my money back. Yeah. Buyer's not going to do that. So I say we kind of got screwed. Now we know, obviously to do a lot more homework and not just trust that agents are always doing their homework. So I tell that story. And then I have another one. I was selling a house in Jacksonville before I got my license. And the agent there was a really good buyer's agent. She helped us buy the house. And she was great at that. But not all agents are created equally, and they don't always, just because someone's a really good buyer's agent doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a really good listing agent, right? Mm-hmm. So she was a great buyer's agent, top 10 in the city out there. But as far as listing goes, maybe not as much. We had differing opinions. We'll just put it that way. She's still a mentor to me in the buying capacity, but as far as listings go, I can't, That was kind of why I feel like I gravitate more towards sellers is because I've had bad experiences. So I want to help make sure that people don't have those same bad experiences. I know what to look for.
Hey, quick break. I believe the best agents in this industry have been sold a lie. That being great at this job means losing everything else to do it. Nobody ever told you that was a choice, not a requirement. The Freedom Agent is a coaching platform and virtual assistant connection company built for agents who want to keep their production and actually get their time back. If you're ready to build that system with a coach beside you or just need your first trained VA in place, that's exactly what we do. Check us out at freedomagent.net. All right, back at it.
Mike, thanks so much here. I'm going to give you a little bit harder of a question. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I know that you've been into this, you're starting to feel it and everything else, and we're starting to get into this momentum, which you obviously have already had, got a lot of sales experience in here. But over the years, what would
Mhm.
you say the part of this business that really wears on you the most, right? What is
Mm.
that one part?
Um, I can answer that pretty easily. It's dealing with other people's emotions because you have to regulate your own, but
Yeah.
dealing with sellers' emotions sometimes can be very taxing. I mean, obviously, everybody has their own family, their own internal emotions, but when you start having to juggle a buyer's emotions, their agent's emotions, seller's emotions, especially like on most recently, I had a client that had a laundry list of repairs that needed to be done in order to sell the home with VA inspections and everything. And they felt like they were kind of cheated in a way because,
Hmm.
being honest, they didn't really keep up with the home as well as they probably should have, being a homeowner. So they needed to do things like new roof, siding, and a few other things. And in their mind, which I understand as a seller, they're like, if I do all these upgrades, it should increase the value of my home, yada, yada, yada. And I said, I get that to an extent, but also you've lived here for 20 years and you never kept up with it. So in one hand, yes, but in another hand, like, nobody's looking at it the same way. Like, a roof is something that you have to have in order to close.
Right.
Insurance companies aren't going to insure the roof unless it's within the first 10, 15 years. So you're outside of that, you're going to have to do it anyway.
Right.
And so having to manage and understand where the seller is coming from and what they're feeling, while also trying to understand where the buyer is coming from, it can be a lot to manage two different people's emotions and also your own at the same time, because there's sometimes where you may just want to be like, just throw your hands up and just be done with it. But you can't do that because you have a job to do.
I love that. So what are you currently doing to kind of mitigate that?
It's funny. I actually started exercising more, so
Okay.
that
Yeah, that's
that
awesome.
helps. It's odd how that works. When you get stressed out, I always have found that going for a jog, or maybe lifting some weights. I'm not the biggest guy, not like you yet, but I'm getting well onto my
Not yet.
way of getting back into the gym and trying to manage that stress, and it just helps you feel good, right? As we get older, you have to take more and more care of your body, otherwise you become that 70-year-old man that can't walk around, and
Yeah.
I don't want that. So I tell
Motion.
people, if I'm that guy at 80 years old and I have to be in a wheelchair, just go ahead and I had a good life.
All right. So exercise coming over the emotion. Yeah, that's a lot of complaints, especially in a stressful time in the market.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that we have to deal with buyers and sellers' emotions so much, because that's pretty standard over the years. And I think a lot of us tenured agents will agree. It's dealing with the other agent
Yeah.
when their
And
business relies on this thing closing, and then
Mhm.
projecting that emotion onto their buyers or their sellers and making it so much worse.
My
So,
biggest complaint would,
yeah,
honestly, and you brought it up, actually, you just reminded me, is agents that schedule showings and don't leave feedback, even after saying that they will leave feedback. I know that's probably like an agent thing that we all complain about, buyers agents that don't do that. But like, come on, man. Like,
yeah,
come on.
throw us a solid. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even if you just say like, it sucked, like,
right.
at least it's something, but leaving me with nothing. And then, the seller's reaching out to me and being like, hey, like, what's the feedback? Like, hey, I'll send you a screenshot. I'm asking for it, but they're not giving it to me. So I don't know. I'm assuming that's you know.
That's awesome, man. Let's kind of talk about a little advice, because sometimes us tenured agents forget what it's like to be in momentum, to be new, and what the original mentality that got us here, got us to where we are.
Yeah.
And what I would love to hear from you is if you could give one piece of advice to an agent that's just hitting momentum, just like you, right?
Mhm.
They're doing maybe $1 to $3 million worth of volume a year, who's just trying to grow. What advice would that be?
Stay consistent. It would go back to stay consistent and remember your why. Like, why is it that you even got into this business? And your why has to be bigger than yourself. It can't be, I want to make $100,000. Like, that's great. That's a good goal to have, but that can't be your why, because as soon as you attain or surpass that goal, now it's something that you have to rethink on, right? So it's got to be, for me, it's my family. I want to be debt free within the next, 5 to 7 years. That is my true goal. So in order to do that, I've got to lay out goals and plans to meet that. And I hold myself accountable by looking at those goals all the time and remembering, even when things do get hard, when leads are slow, or, I don't have a closing for 45 days because it's pushed out, or, this contract just fell through. We're no longer under contract. We're going back on the market, whatever it ends up being. I remember that there is a reason behind why, aside from just bills, obviously, there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's to get my family to be completely debt free, so that we can live life the way that we want to live it without being, as I call it, a slave to our credit card masters or the banks.
100%. Yeah. The Simon Sinek, right? The Find Your Why. Great exercise if listeners, you haven't ever been onto that. But finding that why is that drive. Because people, as Simon Sinek says, they don't buy what you're selling, they buy why you're doing it, why
Yep.
you're selling it, right? So
100%.
having that big why for your family, having that 5 to 7 year goal, what that's going to take, really is a driving factor. Would you agree?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
things that make you do the things you don't want to do.
hmm Help hold you accountable.
Right.
And
right.
when things aren't going the way you want them to, you remember that why and just keep pushing anyway. That's why you got to stay consistent.
Exactly. And then, the thing that I've discovered with my coaching students over the years too, is also the thing that costs us that time, right? Because you got a pretty rigid schedule. And I remember when I first started out, it was a lot like that. I had a rigid schedule that I kept to ensure that I did the things that I necessarily wasn't comfortable doing, right? And getting out of that comfort zone and just pushing towards it. But as you get seasoned, right, we start to push those things off. And then when we push those off, would you agree, it adds more time?
Yeah.
More time. And it starts to bleed into the things that you were here for, such as
Exactly.
spending time with your family, right?
100%.
I think it's very important that we visit that why, but also understand that it's not just an income goal. It's a time goal. It's a free time goal that you can have and still be able to maintain this lifestyle and continue to have that free time, which will also, just like you alluded to earlier, talking about the thing that wears on you the most, is to have that mental energy, right? Your health. Your health is the biggest component, right?
Absolutely.
So it's that income, it's the free time that you have for the things that you love,
Freedom.
and it's your health, right? And that will bring you that freedom.
Absolutely.
100%. Awesome, man. I love this. I love it. Okay. So any other last minutes that you wanted to kind of bring up for your story? I've loved this so far. Has there been anything else that you wanted to bring up here for us?
No, I'm excited to get going on my second full year in real estate here in this area. I've already, I think I looked yesterday and did the math. I'm at like 3.5 million so far this year. So since January. So
Great job.
I'm excited to try this. My goal next year is to try to hit 5. So, I mean, I know we still have
hit 5 this
time
year, Mike.
I know we have plenty of time left this year to try to get to 5.
Get it.
That's another $1.5 million. If I can do it, that'd be good. Then I'll up my goal next year to 6, maybe 6.5. But
let's go ahead and set that goal right now publicly to everybody else. Mike, tell me that you're going to hit 5 million in volume by December 31st this year.
Okay, I'll hit 5 million volume by December 31st this year.
Bam! All right, it's public. It's going out. We got it. All right, so Mike, here in Destin, Florida, if somebody wants to contact you about your story or wants to send you a referral, what's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. My name is on Instagram is Pechacek the Realtor. Same on TikTok. I'm also, you can email me at pechacektherealtor@gmail.com. And then my phone number is 850-361-8561. So.
All right, man. I absolutely love it. Okay, cool.
Well, guys, I do appreciate everybody here listening. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. I think the thing that really, really stuck with me was just back to the basics, right? It's the consistency. It's the accountability, right? And if you don't have somebody to keep you accountable, or you're not good at keeping yourself accountable, get somebody else to do it. In your case, you got your partner, your in life, your wife that's the boss, as you said. She's keeping you accountable. If you guys don't have that, you need something a little bit more. I really encourage you to find a coach, a real estate coach. It will change your business entirely. But in any case, having that accountability and consistency and getting back to the basics, finding people that are motivated. You talked about having bad leads. People want to blame leads. It's not. It's finding motivated leads and when they're ready. So
and what's funny is I'm doing my 45-hour post-licensing course now. I know I'm late because I have to do it before the end of September, but I'm watching the licensing course, and I already know most of all the content that's in it. And they talk about like the different traps that new real estate agents fall into, like going to the office and sitting around the coffee pot and, socializing and making the funny clips and doing the dances on TikTok. Like none of that stuff moves the needle forward. None of that.
Exactly. No, I love it. Also, for anybody that's listening here, I know we talked a little bit more about the systems and everything else from our sponsor. You guys can check out The Freedom Agent. It is the Amazon bestseller from December. You can find it on Audible. You can get it on there. It's a quick read here. I built it as a field manual with my prior military background here. But if you want to know more about our program, you can go to freedomagent.net. We have a webinar. Again, if you want a free code, you can always get out here. But guys, we will see you in our next podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
We appreciate you being here for this episode of the Freedom Agent Podcast. If you're serious about scaling your business without working nonstop, check out the free resources, the webinar, and the Freedom Agent book below. We'll see you in our next episode.